Welcome to Corona in 5. I'm going to teach you some cool things in Corona in under 5 minutes. First one, show VFB. VFB stands for Visual Frame Buffer. Start interactive render. So if you are very new to rendering, an interactive render, if I click this button, is going to render the scene for me in an interactive mode. What that means is, for example, if I click on this tab and I move the tab around, I can actually move everything around and the render will be interactive, meaning that I change things and it updates immediately, as opposed to stopping the render, moving, clicking render, moving, clicking render, moving, which obviously is not fun. Next is the Setup LightMix button. So this is going to allow us to set up the LightMix in our scene, whether we want instance, group, layers, or individual lights. And from there, we can obviously use this tab over here, which is the LightMix tab, allowing us to control each and every single light individually. I do have a tutorial on that, linked below if you want to check that one out. Next, we have the Open Material Library. If I click on that, it is the stock standard built-in library that comes with Corona, which is awesome. Reset settings will obviously reset all of your settings. Progressive rendering limit, pass limit, time limit, noise level limit, which one is the best and which one you should go for. If I choose all of them on 0, be very careful. This is going to make sure that the render will render for an eternity. You need to choose a pass limit, a time limit, or a noise level limit. Let's choose pass limit 10. I'm going to click on the render button right over there. So remember, this button is for your final render. Pass 1 of 10. So what's going to happen is once it gets to 10 passes, it is going to stop. If this is at 0, it will then look at the time limit. So you can choose it to be 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 10 seconds. It will then render for that amount of time, ignoring pass limit and noise level limit. Doesn't matter. It will go according to the time. So let's say you put this one on 50. So you got a pass limit and a time limit. It will stop at the first limit it reaches, whether it's 50 pass limits or 1 hour, 10 minutes, 10 seconds. Finally, we've got the noise level limit, which I think is the best. If you're wondering what a noise is, if we zoom in here, you see that grain look and feel everywhere. It's really, really blurry. That is your noise. You want to reduce the amount of noise as much as possible inside of render to get it nice and crisp. The golden number is 3%. Once it hits 3%, it stops. Let's start with this one, resume last render. If I click resume last render, it is going to start straight away from the last pass that was in there. Next, we have resume from file and this save CXR file. Underneath pass limit, I'm going to put this, let's say, at 50. Let's click the render button and let it render for a couple of passes. So we'll stop at about 10 passes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the render. We're going to save the CXR file. So click this button. Let's type in bathroom. I'm now going to click resume from file. Locating bathroom.cxr. And as soon as I click on open, the render is going to start at pass 21 of 70. Render hidden lights. If I go underneath the light section over here and I start hiding lights, that is the same as switching them off. If you do not like that function, you can obviously come here and just say render hidden lights, 1, 2, 3, tick, and all the lights are back. The next is render only mask. If you forgot to render out, let's say for example, the rendering ID pre-pass. All we want is just this pre-pass. That is it. Click and activate that button. Now, if I click on render, what's going to happen is the interactive LightMix render pre-pass is not going to render. So what that means is you're not going to get your full render. What you will get, however, is the CMasking ID, the material override. If you activate this, you need to add in a material. I've chosen a normal standard gray material. You'll see that everything is going to be flat gray, which is really cool because this allows you to see the light bouncing and the global illumination in your scene. 0 objects excluded list. We can actually select specific objects in our scene and they will be excluded from the material override. Next is the preserve. So this is another include exclude list. The object has a displacement or a bump map on it. And you can see that nothing's actually happening. It's a flat gray. But if you want to preserve, meaning you want to still see the displacement, the bumps, and the opacity maps, then you can tick these, close that, and have a look now. Next is the denoising method. There are a couple of options over here that we can go through. The Corona high quality is the one that obviously Corona recommends, and that is the only one that I do use. And finally, render selected pixel mask. If I select the viewport selection, all of a sudden only one item is being rendered, and that is the item that I have got currently selected. If I hold in control and select the tub, the floor, and any other items, you'll see that they are rendering on their own. If I go to the include exclude list, I can now choose objects that I want rendered. So it's exactly the same thing, except this time you can actually start creating a list for you. If you'd like to watch the full video, check out my YouTube channel called Viscourse in my description.